Here's something really simple you can copy from Rafa's forehand and backhand. Now, this video is sponsored by playercourt.com. If you want to play more tennis and find people in your area to hit with, use my link in the description, playercourt.com/2minute tennis. This is all about the contact and the racket angle while the ball is touching his strings. This is so cool on both his forehand and backhand. When he is absolutely ripping the ball with spin, he actually has his strings tilted down ever so slightly. When you have this position while swinging low to high, and you can see that he is swinging on both his forehand and backhand from below contact to above contact. When you are below contact and you swing up with your racket face ever so slightly closed, it creates a greater disparity between the direction your racket is traveling and the direction your strings point. Oops, I misdrew that one. There you go. And when you do that and you create a bigger disparity between those two, that's when you get more spin on the ball. Now, it's really important to understand here. He is not rolling his racket over the ball. That's what a lot of people think. It's not true. I think more people thought that 30 years ago, 20 years ago, before there was so much video footage. But you're not rolling the racket over the ball. You can see that his racket prior to contact, during contact, and after contact is just creating the same angle. He is not rolling his racket over, but simply going from below contact to above contact with his strings tilted slightly down. Now, to help you practice this exact technique, you've got to get a Topspin Pro. You know what to do. Grab my affiliate link in the description below, and I'll pin it in the first comment. It would mean the world to me if you used my link to get a Topspin Pro for at-home practice, so thank you so much. All right, this shield is exactly the angle that we saw with Rafa's forehand and backhand. That's the beauty of the shield. So you can just hold your racket parallel to the shield and practice going low to high. Now, Rafa really allows the racket to go from below his hand to above his hand as he's hitting the ball, which is going to absolutely give him an enormous amount of spin. But even if you kind of keep the racket more to the side of your hand, or you let the racket go from below your hand to above your hand, the main idea is have your racket face ever so slightly closed as you're swinging up the back of the ball. The amount of friction that comes between the ball and your strings will pull the ball up off your racket, even if the strings are slightly closed, as long as you're swinging fast enough. But if you're looking for more spin, what you can do is copy this idea that instead of thinking that your strings should face forward over the net when you hit the ball, which is good if you're a beginner or you're swinging slowly, but if you're looking to swing faster and put more spin on the ball, then it's in your best interest to actually go from below contact to above contact with your strings pointed slightly down as you do it. It creates a greater disparity between where the strings are pointing and where the racket's traveling. And when that occurs, you get high RPM. A lot of players think that when you do this or when you hit spin, and maybe not so much now because there's so much video footage, but I can remember coaching 25 years ago when I first started out, and people would say things like, well, I'm trying to roll over the ball for spin. You can't roll over the ball and have consistent topspin. It's just not going to happen. The ball's not on the strings for long enough to even make that happen. So we just got to go from below to above. So I'm going to hit some balls here. And as I'm hitting the ball, my focus is going to be to keep my strings ever so slightly tilted down as I'm hitting the ball. As I'm hitting, I'm trying to keep my strings pointing down. That's what's going to allow that ball to spin a ton. It's the exact same thing on the backhand. In fact, I did this video a couple days ago with Sharapova's forehand, and somebody in the comments said, hey, can you show this on the backhand, which is actually what inspired me to make this video. So I'm reading your comments, so make sure you comment, and I'll make a video based on what you say. So when Nadal hits this ball, you could see that his racket face was closed before, during, and after he hit the backhand. So practice doing that on the backhand. Practice spinning the ball. So I'll add a split step, which I think is really good. When you're practicing on the Topspin Pro, you can practice having the split step, getting into position from below contact. And Nadal does that same thing we talked about on the forehand. The racket goes from below his hand to the side of his hand to above his hand as he's spinning the ball. Again, you can see and feel the friction and the spin with the Topspin Pro. Work on swinging from below contact to above contact with the strings ever so slightly closed on both your forehand and your backhand. And there's no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.